Yo, this is Talk E. Welcome to the locker room where we talk nothing but basketball. If you want to be part of the locker room, you have to be part of the team. In order for you to be part of the team, you have to subscribe and share the video to not only be part of the team in the locker room, but to also be a part of our daily basketball conversations. Yesterday in the NBA was not a crazy night. It was not a valid night. It wasn't even a midnight. Honestly, yesterday was like one of the worst nights we've seen in the NBA. And I know I've said this a couple of times already, but yesterday was really the worst. Besides the first game, the rest of the games were mid. I mean, the Clippers Pistons game was supposed to be good, but that didn't really turn out how it's supposed to be. I mean, it went to OT, but at the same time, Kawhi didn't play, and then I don't know what happened there. Pistons should not even have been able to stand with the Clippers, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and get started with our first game of the night, the Brooklyn Nets and Cavs game. Now, this game was the best game of the night. We had, KD and Kyrie that went off for like 32 each. We had, Darius Garland who had like a 40-something point game. I think it was like 45 or 50-point game. Donovan Mitchell, it was like a calm game from him. He could have did way better, honestly, but it is what it is. First quarter, the Nets came out and they went up by like 9, 10, I think it was, maybe even 11. But, the Cavs made a push. They came back in the second, and right before the second quarter ended, like the last minute and a half, Kyrie Irving hits 4 back-to-back threes. And then TJ Warren hit 2 threes back-to-back. And honestly, bro, like those last 2 minutes, they were looking like a new version of Stephen Clay. I've never seen Kyrie hit 4 threes back-to-back. Like, straight like that without a miss. I've never seen that from Kyrie. I've seen Kyrie hit a crazy shot in, crunch time or down by 2 or whatever, but not back-to-back threes. I've never seen that before. That was something crazy for me to watch. And then right when, the Cavs brought it back within 1, those like 4-6 shots that were taken by Kyrie and TJ Warren brought the Nets up by 18. And to be honest with you, that's when the game was over. The game ended in the second quarter. Because once we got to the third, they just, kept adding on to their lead. And the fourth quarter came. The Cavs tried to make a push, and it was too late. KD had turned it up. He was literally unguardable. Nobody was able to stop him. He got whatever he wanted. He got threes. He got step back threes. He got to the mid range. He got to the basket. He got free throws. I mean, literally they could not stand in front of him at all. We had Donovan Mitchell try to have his own impersonation of PJ Tucker and get physical with KD because he's a small player, and that could not happen at all. He got called for a foul, and after that, game was pretty much over. Like I said, the Cavs, I think they even pushed it to like 3 at a certain point, and then we had KD come hit 3 and then another 3, and he scored like 8-10 points in a row for the Nets. And then the dumbest thing that could have happened. This man KD decides to pick up his 6th foul with like a minute and a half left. KD gets kicked out the game, and now it's up to Kyrie. Now see if Kyrie's gonna show up or is he gonna like start bricking or whatever, because Kyrie kind of had a quiet game up to that point. And once KD went out, Kyrie put the team on his shoulders and he just went off, bro. He hit like shot after shot, and then he ended the game with 32. I think they both had 32 points. So, that's a crazy combination of 64 points. And, Darius Garland tried. This is the second time he puts up like 45 or 50 points, and he just cannot get them over the hump. And to be honest with you, it's the Cavs defense. Cavs defense showed up in spurts, but it was not really there. And this is like some of the worst basketball I've seen the Cavs play. I mean, they did not play their brand of basketball the entire game. They played it in spurts, and that's what really hurt them. And for a team that wants to really make a deep run in the playoffs, or a team that's the top 4 seed, it's like you have to bring your A game all game. You cannot just play at 100% for 10 minutes at a time, 6 minutes at a time. You have to really play all game long. If your offense is not clicking, you gotta have like A1 defense all game, and vice versa. Like, you cannot just let KD, Kyrie, I mean even Ben Simmons got to the basket and got whatever he wanted. Like, you cannot allow that to happen. If it's not Kyrie, KD, or some of that 3-point shooting, you cannot really allow other players to get to the basket. And even KD and Kyrie, you still gotta stick D on them. You can't just let them, just take whatever shot they want. Because I know they're not Steph and Clay, but they're like two of the top best scorers in the league. KD might be the best scorer in the league. I mean, in my opinion, he is. And when he got his sixth foul, I was like, that right there could have possibly cost the game for the Nets. But I couldn't say that 100% because, like I said, we still had Kyrie. And I was like, if the Cavs are smart and they double team Kyrie, which they tried, and they really get the ball out of his hand and they like manage to keep it and score, they could win. And they did that, and you got Mitchell running straight into Claxton, and then he gets the foul. And then he couldn't get an N1. And then he couldn't make a shot. And Darius Garland missed like a shot too. A couple of their big men took threes and missed them. Now usually they make them, but yesterday was not the best game for them, especially 3-point shooting wise. Our next game of the night, we had the Clippers and the Pistons game. Now this game was like the weirdest game of the night because unexpectedly it went to overtime. Now I expected the Pistons to stay in this game because they always find a way to stay in every game, but I did not expect this game to go to overtime. I did not expect them to even tie it or even take the lead and force the Clippers to come back. But first quarter ends, the Clippers, who usually are good defensively, allow 36 points in the first quarter, and they only put up 31. Second quarter comes, and that's when their defense really started to click, and I think they only allowed 25 points, and they put up like 35. Now at this point, the game is tied going into the second half, and Paul George ends the game with like 32. But then we get into the third quarter, and basically, the Pistons take the lead. They're up by like 4 points, and they force the Clippers to have to come back in the fourth quarter, and they did so, but it ended up being a tie, and we had to go to OT. And when we went to overtime, in my mind, I'm like, I really don't know what to expect. Because if the Pistons are able to do this, they could possibly win this game. And Paul George showed up. The whole Clippers team really showed up, especially when it came to OT. They put up 14-3 in OT. Paul George also ends the game with 11 assists. And a lot of starters had like 16 points. I think the Clippers as a team had like maybe 6 to 7 players in double digits. And possibly like 4 of them had like 15, 16 points. Because when I first saw this game, like the scoring wise, I was like, how did this game go up to like 135, 140 points? Like, how did that happen? Because watching it, I don't know, it didn't really feel like that. John Wall, in my opinion, had one of his best games of the season. He had like 16 points. But someone please explain to me why Kawhi is not playing. Like, why is Kawhi Leonard not playing? He just came back. It's like every time he comes back, he plays 2 games and he leaves for 20. Like, when are we finally going to start giving him the same treatment that we give AD? Like, we can't all be mad at AD for doing that when AD has obviously been trying to even play through his injuries recently. But Kawhi, who's been doing it since like 2015, 2016, we just allow him to do so. I mean, this is the same person who said he had a quad injury, he couldn't play for 2 years. Then he said he had a butt injury and didn't play. Then, like, he always got some type of injury, bro. And it's not like he had some crazy injury. It's not like he had, like, ACL tear, Achilles tear. I mean, last year, he had, like, an ACL tear or something of that nature because, I mean, I could never know. The Clippers trying to hide it like it's, like, top secret. Like, he's not every other player who gets injured. But, I don't know, bro. And then we had the Timberwolves and Heat game, which ended within 3 points. This game was actually a good game. It was like a close game the entire time, surprisingly. But Jimmy Butler also didn't play, which understandable. Anthony Edwards ended the game like 29. Tyler Hero didn't have his best game in my opinion, and that was probably like, another factor of why the game was so close. A lot of players did not play for the Heat. Bam didn't play. Jimmy didn't play. And I was like, this is really bad. Like, I don't know if the Heat are like just completely injured, but this is not a good look. But hopefully after the All-Star weekend, everything clicks for them and they're back to being, in the championship contending teams conversation at least. I know Jimmy Butler always turns it up in the playoffs. So, if he's healthy for the playoffs, I don't care who he has playing by his side. I feel like, the team is going to be all right. The Heat are going to be competing. They're probably not going to get swept again like they did a couple years ago by the Bucks. The Timberwolves, though, they need Cat back. They've started to get a lot of players back, actually. They got, a couple of defensive players back. They just need, Cat, their best player. They need him back. And they need him to come back and play his top game. Not whatever he was doing in the beginning of the season. That was not top game. That was, some of the worst basketball I've seen Karl Anthony Towns play. But, the end of last year, Cat, that was some of the best games we've seen from him. I mean, this is a center that put up 60-something points. He's the best shooting center in the league. I don't know. I feel like they need him back. They need him to really show up and, contribute offensively. It's not something that he cannot do. Our next game of the night and our last game of the night, we had the Blazers and the Hornets. Man, this game was actually kind of disgusting. Damian Lillard had 17 points. He had 10 points going into the fourth. Anthony Simons had 18 going into the fourth. And Jeremy Grant led the team with 32 points and won the game for them. And Nurkic also had a 28-point double-double. Now, if those are your top two scorers, you expect the team to lose, especially a team like the Blazers. But that's not what happened. And the worst part about it is the Hornets had LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, PJ Washington. Basically everybody played besides Miles Bridges, who we know is not going to play anytime soon. And they lost. And this was a team that, I didn't expect them to be good. I expected them to compete, which this game was pretty close. But they should not have lost this game with Damian Lillard putting up 17 points. I mean, if Damian Lillard plays against any other team and he puts up 17 points, that's like a winning gift for the other team. You just handed the game over. And somehow, some way, the Blazers find a way to win with Dame having 17 points. This is a bad look for the Hornets. I mean, I expected them to be around that 11-12 seed. I mean, in my opinion, they could have been really bad, 14-12 seed, or they could have been, in the play-in conversation. And clearly they took the really bad path. And I don't want to hear, LaMelo was injured for a long time. LaMelo came back and he's putting up 27 points, 30 points, 7-7, and he's still losing. The team does not look the same how it looked in preseason. Now, obviously, that's understandable. It's not great defense in preseason, but I don't know. This is not the best team I've seen from them, and I feel like they could do way better. I feel like they were way more exciting to watch when LaMelo was not there. Just watching Kelly Oubre, Terry Rozier, and the rest of the team play and try to win, that was way better, and they actually beat some comfy teams. Once LaMelo came back so far, I mean, he's doing good, but overall the team is doing bad. But anyways, yeah, that's enough of me rambling. It's time for y'all. Let me know what you guys think below. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. This is Real Talker E, and it's time to leave the locker room. I'm going to catch y'all. Safety.